Hello, Anita.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, Nilanjana, Rohit. Should we start or should we wait a little? Priya, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
So we just start. It's 7 o'clock, right?
Ma'am, it's 7:1.
Yeah. Romesh, should we start?
অনিন্দিতা আর 2 মিনিট দেখে নি।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে আমি অ্যাকচুয়ালি আমার নেটওয়ার্কের সমস্যা হচ্ছে খুব
এই ঝড়ের জন্য।
হ্যাঁ আজকে মানে the weather is much pleasant শিলা বৃষ্টি হয়েছে
অ্যাবসলিউটলি।
আচ্ছা বাকিরা একটু জয়েন করতে বলো প্রশান্ত তোমরা বাকি সেমেস্টারদের একটু জয়েন করতে বলো আজকে শ্যামাশ্রী টক দেবে বলে ওয়েদার প্লেজেন্ট হয়ে গেছে শুধু লাইটস আউট না হলেই ভালো
হ্যাঁ সেটাই
খুব স্ট্রং চান্স আছে সব জয়েন করছে আমাদের that YouTube option is working na mane that's like we are going we'll record this right
Yes, ma'am. Arijit has taken charge of that.
okay great Nilanjana has joined আমি দেবিকা দিকে পাঠিয়ে দিয়েছি মঞ্জুরি might be joining Nilanjana শোনা যাচ্ছে না হ্যাঁ একটা সমস্যা হচ্ছে উইথ রেসপেক্ট টু নেটওয়ার্ক আজকে একটা ঝড় বৃষ্টি হয়েছে তো সো ওই জন্যই আই গেস
অনিতা আমি অলরেডি
And your voice is breaking.
আমার মনে হয় রিয়া let's start
Ma'am, is principal sir here with us?
আমি স্যারকে দেখতে পাচ্ছি না অ্যাকচুয়ালি স্যারের আজকে ওই রুসার এসে হইল না তো স্যার মাস্ট বি ট্রাভেলিং আর রাস্তায় নেটওয়ার্ক না থাকলে আমি দেখছি একবার স্যারকে কল করে ইটস পসিবল
Okay.
আমি প্রিন্সিপাল স্যারের সাথে কন্ট্যাক্ট করতে পারলাম না I guess he might be traveling on the road so
Ma'am, should we continue without him then?
অ্যাকচুয়ালি আমার মনে হয় যদি ওনারা মাঝে জয়েন করেন তো তখন আমরা দেখতে পেলে আমরা পজ করে দেব আপাতত লেটস স্টার্ট
Okay.
প্রচন্ড নেটওয়ার্কের প্রবলেম আছে আজকে, সো লেটস গো হেড। এবং TCS এবং IQAC, they will not be able to join, but they have sent us their best wishes. Okay, তুমি মেনশন করে দিও। Okay. Is Shyamasri there? I can't see her. Darao. Let's wait. I think she's just got disconnected. I saw her leaving the meeting. Romit sir, when the power
Ma'am,
fluctuations.
and having a terrible
আমি কিছু শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
ma'am is have terrible network issues.
সাংঘাতিক
she
network
can't even
issues
type
because of the weather. The weather is
Yes, ma'am.
little একটু আজকে একটু অন্যরকম weather হয়ে গেছে না, তো that is why. Not a problem. আমরা একটুখানি শ্যামশ্রীর জন্য ওয়েট করি, then we'll begin. Even রমিত স্যারও ডিসকানেক্টেড হয়ে গেছেন। আমার মনে হয় নেটওয়ার্ক ইজ টেরিবল টুডে। আমরা একটু দাঁড়িয়ে নিই। আমি দেখতে পাচ্ছি না। Is Shyamasri ma'am here? I can't see. Yes. রমেশ, শ্যামশ্রী কি?
হ্যাঁ অনিন্দিতা, আমি নেটওয়ার্ক লুজ করেছিলাম, শ্যামশ্রীকে আমি দেখতে পাচ্ছি না।
আমিও দেখতে পাচ্ছি না, ও ইয়ে হয়ে গেল, ডিসকানেক্টেড হয়ে গেল।
আমিও হয়ে গেছি,
পাওয়ার কাট হয়ে গেল।
হ্যাঁ, লটস অফ প্রবলেমস উইথ নেটওয়ার্ক।
হ্যাঁ, এবং আমার কাছে না, I don't even have a number that I will be trying to get in touch with her. আমি নীলাঞ্জনাকেও কল করছি, ওরও ইয়ে হচ্ছে। দাঁড়া, আমি দেখছি, it works. Acha, Shyamasri ma'am has joined, so Riya, please start.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So, very good evening to one and all. I'm Riya Ghosh from the Department of English, your humble host for tonight. I would like to thank everyone for joining us today on this auspicious evening. We are honored to have our patron, Partho Gangopadhyay sir, join DPI, Vikash Bhavan, Kolkata. We are honored to have our honorable speaker for the day, SHYAMASRI MAJI, Assistant Professor of English, Durgapur Women's College, West Bengal, India. I would now request Suparna and Shritama to take us through a small trip of our family. Now, please present the PowerPoint presentation.
A very good evening to one and all present over here. We thank you all for joining with us today on this August occasion. And we are really very grateful and thrilled for having with us today our guest of honor and today's main speaker, Dr. SHYAMASRI MAJI Ma'am, Assistant Professor of English, Durgapur Women's College. DGC was established on 15th of September 1970. Now affiliated to the Qazi Nazrul University, the institution stands out as a distinguished center of learning. Besides the graduation courses, the college also offers postgraduate courses in certain disciplines. Also, for building the personality of students, there are National Cadet Corps and National Service Scheme, the two important wings of the college. Now presenting you the mentors of our family. From left to right, we have Dr. Manjuri Ghosh, Dr. Anindita Chatterjee, Dr. Debika Bose, Dr. Ramit Das, and Dr. Nilanjana Chatterjee. The Department of English believes in collaborative works in the teaching learning process as in all other activities in the department. The family encourages and accommodates heterogeneity and diversity, making rich contributions towards our mental expansion. The department started functioning in the academic session 1970 to 71, which was also the first academic session of Durgapur Government College, established in 1969. Presenting you informative and utilitarian knowledge-based events have been held by the Department of English, such as seminars, excursions, special lectures, and webinars. These happy pictures represent various phases of our departmental exhibitions over the last few years. We look forward to this annual event throughout the year. Our department has organized several interesting seminars and talks. It was our privilege to have Professor Himadri Lahiri as our guest speaker. He spoke on Jhumpa Lahiri's interpretation of melodies. Our department organized a seminar poster competition on disease, dis-ease, and changing social perception, wherein our invited speakers were Professor Sajal Kumar Bhattacharya and Professor Nandini Bhattacharya. Later on the same day, prizes were distributed for poster competition. A glimpse of our poster exhibition competition. On 28 April 2018, we organized a seminar quiz contest titled Revisiting Shakespeare, celebrating Shakespeare's birth anniversary. Our invited speakers were Professor Subhajit Sengupta and Professor Sharbani Banerjee. On that same day, our students performed a skit depicting various characters from Shakespeare like Callion, Prospero, Duke Orsino, etc. The proud participants of the day. In the pandemic situation, technology has provided us a way of light and hope. We organized webinars on Graphic Novel by Dr. Pinaki De and Mrs. Dalway by Dr. Vishnu Priya Sengupta. On 1st September 2020, we organized a webinar on post-colonialism and by Professor Bill Ashcroft. On 16 January 2021, we organized a special webinar on Rasa in Natya Shastra by Piyal Bhattacharya. We organized a webinar on sexual and textual politics in Manjula Padmanabhan's play Lights Out by Dr. Vishnu Priya Sengupta. On 30th June 2021, we organized a webinar on postmodernism by Dr. Marine Simiraj. We organized a webinar on introducing feminism by Dr. Arpita Chatterjee Mukhopadhyay. A garden is the reflection of heaven on this earth. This garden in our college is proudly run by the teachers and students of our department. We don't judge each day by the harvest we reap from our garden, but by the seeds we plant. On 23rd April 2022, we organized an elocution competition celebrating National Shakespeare's Day, where students from other departments too participated actively, making it a big success. Finally, we welcome Dr. SHYAMASRI MAJI ma'am to our English family. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Suparna, and thank you, Sneha, for the delightful tour. Also, I would just like to add that Nilanjana ma'am couldn't join us today for some network issues, and she has given her best wishes to Shamasri ma'am. Now, I would like to request our beloved Professor Anindita ma'am to please say a few words.
Firstly, I have to apologize because I don't have power. So they didn't restore my DG, so I am in a very bad state. I have connected via mobile, so a lot of technological challenges are taking place today. In spite of everything that we are here, thank God and thank you, Shamasri. Formal thank you for accepting the invite. And, it really feels nice that our neighboring college is a speaker from our neighboring college has joined us and joined us as our family member. So it's an honor to have you. It's an honor to host today's webinar. So for our students, this play, this was introduced in the syllabus. So we couldn't do much about that text because a lot of material is not available. And this is also one of the compulsory pieces that they have to write in their paper. So English drama, as we know, so they don't have a large number of women dramatists. So Manjula Padmanabhan is one of the very few women dramatists, and this place talks about gender sensitivity. And you students will be thoroughly enriched, and I hope this is going to be an engaging session, and then it will be followed by interaction. I hope the network is good for all of you. Let's, without any further ado, I would just wish Shamasri all the best. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Anindita
And
Di.
before, just one second. I think Uruz will be introducing Shamasri to all of us. Uruz, right?
Yes,
Who is going to
ma'am.
introduce?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. That's really wonderful. And now I would like to ask our beloved senior Uruzdi to please introduce the speaker for the day.
Well, thank you, Ria. Hello and a very good evening to our chief speaker, our dear professors and my beloved friends. This is Uruz Ali from SEM 6, Department of English, and I will introduce Samushri ma'am, who belongs from Durgapur Women's College. Shamushri Maji ma'am is an assistant professor in English at Durgapur Women's College, affiliated to Kaji Nazrul University, Asansol. She completed her MA, MPhil and PhD in English from the University of Burdwan in West Bengal, India. The title of her doctoral thesis is Anxiety of Representation in Select Anglo-Indian Writers. She is the recipient of Independent Research Fellowship 2018-19 at Satyajit Ray Film and Television Institute, Kolkata. Under this fellowship program, she completed a short-term research project on select documentary films on the Anglo-Indian community. Her book reviews have been published in Asiatic, New Zealand Journal of Asian Studies, Situation and International Journal of Anglo-Indian Studies. Her articles have been published in international journals such as Antipodes, India Logs, Doc Online, International Journal of Anglo-Indian Studies, and Third World Thematics Routledge. Recently, her chapter Identity and Homing Desires, Anglo-Indian Literary Perspectives has been published in Anglo-Indian Identity, Past and Present in India and the Diaspora, edited by Robin Andrews and Meryl Simiraj. Palgrave Macmillan, 2021. Thank you.
Actually, we are having a lot of difficulties, lot. Shamasri, I think you should. Ria, will Shamasri start? Let Shamasri.
Ma'am, I think some problem has occurred
Yes,
with
yes,
Ria's
Shamasri,
issue.
Shamasri, please start. Shamasri, please start.
Okay. Thank you, Anindita Di, and
No,
I'm grateful
Bruce,
to. Is anybody speaking?
No, ma'am, please continue.
So thank you, Anindita Di. Thank you, Nilanjana Di, and of course my thanks to Romit Da. Manjuri ma'am, also I express my gratitude to her, and it's my honor to speak in front of Joint DPI Sir, Professor Partho Goggopadhyay Sir, and of course Devika Bose ma'am, who had been my teacher as well. I'm so honored and delighted to present in front of her. Just a note that I would like to add that I had been a student of this college. I have completed my BA in English Honours from DURGAPUR Government College. So I had been a part of this college many years back, right? I had been a student of this college. I am both honored and grateful to be here to present a lecture on this virtual platform. I'm not able to hear Anindita Di. I think she was trying to say something.
No, I was not being able to hear you. Now I can hear you after you've taken your mic.
Yeah, I've just started. I express my heartfelt thanks to
Yes, yes.
you,
Today we'll be having a
Nilanjana
lot
Di,
of these
Romit
things.
Da, Manjuri Di, and
I'm really
Devika.
sorry about the weather and all.
Yeah, weather is too bad today. Right, my lecture brought rain, but it also took away lights and network, so we are having some inconveniences. And today, let me start the lecture then. And also, I would like to thank the students for the wonderful introduction. I am really honored and humbled by the introduction, by this lovely introduction that you people gave. Right. So, yeah. And so let me start the lecture, and I would like to share the screen. I have prepared one PPT, so I would like to share that with you. Is the PPT visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So today we will be reading Lights Out, and as the topic had been given on the flyer, Lights Out, a close reading. So without going into much critical discussion and critical approaches to it, I would try to explain the text. I would like to explain the text in detail. Right. And the topics that I have for discussion are these. Right. The topics that I will be discussing for today are these. So let me start with the introducing the playwright. Manjula Padmanabhan, as you can see on the slide, that she was born on 23rd June in 1953. And during her childhood, she had lived in several countries, and finally she came back to Delhi and completed her graduation in history, and later completed her graduation in economics, and later her master's in history. So she is not a student of English literature. In spite of that, uh, she had a deep attachment towards literature, and she had the flair for writing, due to which she became a journalist and a comic strip artist. Apart from this, she is also an author of novels, and she is a playwright. She is the creator of Suki or Sukiyaki, an Indian comic character, and Suki appears in the business line in the Hindu newspaper. Earlier, it appeared in the Sunday Observer, And as you can see, that Lights Out, which was first published in 1984, this was her first play, and there are other plays by her as well, but the renowned among these is Harvest, the play Harvest, which deals with the illegal organ trade. Right? This play was published in 2003, and Harvest brought international fame to Manjula Padmanabhan, as she won the Onassis International Prize for it. Another thing that I would like to mention about Manjula Padmanabhan is that
I could interrupt you. I can't see the slide.
Shamasri, there seems to be some problem in the slide. We can't see it.
Okay, I'm trying to check it. Wait, I'm trying to check it. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, thank you for telling me. Thank you for confirming. So, Padmanabhan 1, should I explain the slide from the beginning, or could you hear what I said at the beginning? I just said that I gave a brief introduction of Manjula Padmanabhan, that she was born on 23rd June in 1953, and she lived in several countries during her childhood before she came to Delhi and settled down there. Although she graduated in economics and later did her master's in history, she had a flair for writing, and that's why she used to become a journalist. She is also a comic strip artist, the creator of Suki, an Indian comic character which appears regularly in newspapers such as the business line in the Hindu. And I have just mentioned two well-known plays of Manjula Padmanabhan. One is Lights Out, which is her first play, and the second one is Harvest, which was published in 2003. The play Harvest deals with illegal organ trade, and it brought international acclaim to Manjula Padmanabhan, as she won Onassis International Prize for the play Harvest. Another thing that I would like to mention about Padmanabhan is this, that she prefers to have a Janana vision rather than being called a feminist. So she believes in presenting women's perspective more than being a feminist. In fact, she does not like the tag feminist. She says that yes, feminism is much required because women are still oppressed in our society, but she prefers to have Janana vision. Right, Janana vision, that means vision of woman, rather than being tagged as a feminist. So let us come to the background information of the play Lights Out. The play Lights Out is based on an eyewitness account of gang rape in Santa Cruz, Mumbai in 1982, and the play is written just after 2 years of this incident. This incident was narrated to Padmanabhan by one of her friends who had been a witness to this gang rape in Santa Cruz, Mumbai. And the friend, as she narrated to Padmanabhan, the incident was quite similar to the one represented in the play. A party was going on, and in a building close to where the party was going on, some people, they were raping a woman, and the people who had come to the party, instead of rescuing the woman or instead of trying to help her out, they kept silent, and they watched the incident without protesting. And this was what was narrated to Padmanabhan by her friend. Now, Lights Out, it was published in two separate collections by Seagull Books, and the two collections were Body Blows and City Plays. Now, let us come to the text. So, there are total 6 characters in the play, although one character remains silent. Frida, the cook. Okay, Frida, the cook, she remains silent and she hardly has any dialogue. She does not have any dialogue. And other than her, the other characters are Bhaskar, who is the man of the house. He is a man of the house, and he is a government official. And Leela is Bhaskar's wife. Leela is Bhaskar's wife, and she's about the same age as Bhaskar. Mohan is Bhaskar's friend, to whom we are introduced in the second scene of the play. He is slim and good look, and he is also of the same age as Bhaskar. Then there is another woman here called Naina, who is Leela's friend. And we have Surinder, who is Naina's husband. Surinder is more manly built, and he's also of the same age as the other men, but he has a large and burly outlook, a very physical type, as the playwright tells us. So this is about the characters. We are now introduced to the characters, and then let us go to the structure of the play. So this play Lights Out, it's a short play which is introduced in your paper of women's writing. It has got 3 scenes. We see that the play opens in the drawing dining area of an apartment, right? Of an apartment in a building in Bombay, right? The setting is urban. The play opens in the drawing dining area of an apartment in a building in Bombay, and the focal point of the space is a large window through which the characters they witness or hear the incident, the horrible incident about which the play describes. On the one hand, we can say that this window is part of the setting, but again we can say that this is the medium through which the rape is being viewed, and it also provides the frame to view the incident. And remember, the frames are different. Each character or the characters are viewing the rape from his or her own point of view. So the window, it is not only a part of the physical setting, but it's also the frame. It's also the frame through which the audience comes to know about the perspectives of the characters. So there are 3 scenes. Let me discuss what's there in each scene. In scene 1, we find that it's the middle class family where the husband and the wife, they are talking to each other, and the wife Leela is quite upset. She is terrified. She is frightened. She hears sounds, frightening sounds, which her, and she urges her husband to call the police so that the sounds can be stopped. Whereas her husband, he tries to pacify her. He tries to explain to her that nothing will happen to her, or whatever sound is coming, it cannot cause any harm to her. Leela seems to suffer from some kind of obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, right? Which in short we often refer to as OCD. She seems to suffer from some kind of compulsive disorder, due to which she of the fear or the compulsiveness of hearing frightful sounds. Then in the second scene, we see that one new character is introduced to us, and he is Mohan. Bhaskar's friend. Leela is alarmed. Leela is alarmed that a guest has come to their house because she feels embarrassed. She feels embarrassed. The guest will hear those frightful sounds, and the guest may ask questions. Then, what will they say? Right? Because rape or any such activity related to sexual violence, these are considered as in our society. She does not to conceal this because the sounds can be heard very well, right? As her husband very comfortable, and somehow during the conversation it becomes clear that Bhaskar had invited Mohan to come to their house, which to some extent shocks Leela because she did not expect her husband to act in this way. You may feel it very strange, and it's also shocking that Bhaskar has invited his friend Mohan to his house so that they can watch the sexual violence that goes in their adjacent building, right? So that they can watch the sexual violence together, right? This is where we are introduced to the theme of voyeurism, right? Where we are introduced to the theme of voyeurism in this play. And also exhibitionism, but I will come to that later. Before that, let me tell you the story, right? The summary of the scenes that are there. So in scene 2, we see that Mohan and Leela and Bhaskar, they are commenting on the sexual violence or the rape that goes uh, goes in the building opposite to theirs. And astonishingly, Mohan, he tries to cover up the incident of rape with religious excuses. He tries to show that the screaming or the beating or the violence, they are part of religious ritual. He also considers that it may be a part of exorcism. It may be an exorcist exercise that goes on in the neighborhood. And then both the men, they say that nobody can protest against any kind of religious activity. So this is how they try to explain to Leela that the police cannot be called because this is a religious activity, and in a secular country nobody can stop anyone from practicing his or her religion. At times it seems a bit funny, at times it seems ridiculous the way they try to cover up the violence of rape with either excuse of religious activity or domestic fight or a personal affair. This is where we feel that the playwright has used black comedy, right? Black comedy, I will just explain to you. Black comedy may be referred to as cruel jokes. In simple words, black comedy may be referred to as cruel jokes that provoke discomfort, and at the same time serious thoughts in the minds of the audience. It mostly deals with the taboo subjects and the vulgar topics. So when Mohan talks about the religious rites or the sexual orgies that are often part of exorcism. It seems to us that the playwright is using black comedy to heighten the effect of seriousness, that is the to heighten the effect of seriousness that the play deals with, right? And as I was telling you that the play is based on exhibitionism. Let me come to the concepts of exhibitionism and voyeurism now. So, exhibitionism over here, as we have said that we have read also that every day, as Leela informs us, that every day in the building opposite to theirs, some or the other woman is raped. This continues almost every day. So, the rapists, they are not afraid of anyone. It is the people of the other apartments that they switch off their lights and they watch the rape from their windows. And the rapists, they are fearless and they know it very well that the people are watching them. It is through their exhibitionism of it is through their exhibition of the sexual violence. Maybe they are trying to establish some kind of terror in the minds of the onlookers, or they are making the viewers a part of their crime. So this play is also based on exhibitionism. We should not forget this. And both exhibitionism and voyeurism, these have been used as plot methods by the playwrights, right? Voyeurism, now if I come to voyeurism, it refers to erotic pleasure by secretly observing sexual objects or acts. Whereas exhibitionism refers to someone who exhibits or displays or presents the spectacle and seeks some kind of gratification from the visual impact, right? So this is about exhibitionism, and I told you that voyeurism is about obtaining erotic pleasure by secretly observing sexual objects or acts. So in this play we find that both exhibitionism is performed by the rapist, and voyeurism is performed by the characters in the play, right? So both exhibitionism and voyeurism, they have been used as plot methods in this play. And remember, they are viewing the act of rape through the window, and after viewing they are representing their views. And that is why I said that the window may be one, but it presents multiple frames, because it represents the different perspectives of the characters. So that is how the window becomes the symbol of multiple frames in this play. So I told you about scene 1, where we are introduced to Bhaskar and Leela, and how Leela suffers from fear due to the horrible sounds that she hears. Then in scene 2, I told you about Mohan who has come to Bhaskar's house, and how together the two men, they enjoy as voyeurs, right? They enjoy as voyeurs by gazing at the rape of the woman who may be poor according to the details given by them. Then in scene 3, we are introduced to Leela's friend Naina and her husband Surinder. Now let me tell you a little bit about Leela's friend Naina and her husband Surinder. We have seen that the cook Frida, she is also a woman. She remains silent all throughout the play. She only acts whenever she is asked to do something by her employers, and it is mainly the household chores that she does. Then about Leela, we have said that she is complaining about the horrible sounds and the rape that takes place regularly in the uh, building, in the vacant building opposite to theirs, and she urges her husband to complain about this to the police. Then when we come to Naina, we see that Naina is more courageous and stronger than Leela. She is not scared at first when she hears about rape, and she insists on watching what is going on outside the window, right? Although the men, they warn her not to do so. But then again, we see that she cannot tolerate, she cannot take what is going on outside, um, the violence has a deep impact on her. She feels disgusted, she feels scared. And after that, we see Surinder her husband Surinder, he tries to incite others, right? He tries to convince others that the hooligans who are uh, committing this crime, they can be taught a lesson only by beating them up. So he directly talks about violence. He talks of using violence to teach the rapists a lesson. But all the men, the three men that we have in this play, they don't want to call the police, right? Although Naina insists on calling the police, although Leela requests them a lot to call the police, but they don't call the police, and one after other they make excuses, or they come up with ridiculous excuses. Sometimes it is religion, or sometimes it is teaching the hooligans a lesson by throwing petrol bombs on them, or by stabbing them with knife. So whatever it is, the use of black comedy that we have in this play, but police is not called. And by the time they decide to call the police, or they don't decide, we see that when they realize that they should call the police, by that time the incident of rape for that day is over. And the play, we see that the play ends with an announcement that the play was based on a real life incident. And another thing that I noticed and I felt that it should be noted, is that there is no curtain call at the end, which shows that there is removal of the fourth wall. There is removal of the fourth wall at the end of the play, right? In both the options that are given for ending the play, we see that within brackets it is written, or sometimes it's not written within brackets, that there is no curtain call, right? There is no curtain call. That means the playwright does not want to represent this as an unreal act, as a fictional act. Rather, she wants to convey the message that this is reality, right? And that is why she uses the technique of removing the fourth wall at the end. Now, let me tell you in brief, some of you may not know what is fourth wall. The fourth wall is a performance convention. The fourth wall is a performance convention in which an invisible or imagined wall separates the actors from the audience. So it is the imagined wall, right, which separates the actors from the audience. But here the playwright wants to connect the audience with the actors. Why? Because she wants to convey this message that this play is based on a real life incident, that rape is a dark, horrible, but a grim reality of our society, and this should be viewed as such, right? And that is why there is no curtain call at the end of the play, right? So another thing, going back to the to the plot method, again, I would like to say again a bit. I would like to say a little bit about voyeurism and exhibitionism, because these two are very important and is important to me, because very few plays they use voyeurism and exhibitionism as plot method, and over here these have been used as plot methods by the playwright very skillfully, very creatively, in fact, by using the window. Right. So as I was telling you about exhibitionism, the rapists, they have kept the lights on, which suggests that they know that they are being observed by the people of the three buildings. Right. And another thing that I was telling you, that except Leela, right, another thing that I might have missed, but now as I have remembered, I would like to tell you that except Leela, all characters, Mohan, Bhaskar, Naina, Surinder, yeah, there nothing has been said about Frida, but Mohan, Bhaskar, Naina, Surinder, they exhibit a strong urge to look outside the window, to watch the rape. This again shows that the tendency to voyeur, right? That means the urge for voyeurism is present in most of us, right? Most of us. And remember, voyeurism and exhibitionism, they are psychoanalytical concepts, and this play, in fact, can be critically approached from the perspective of psychoanalysis. But I won't go deep into that. I would just like to tell you that exhibitionism and voyeurism, these are psychoanalytical concepts, and uh, almost all the characters, they exhibit a strong urge to watch the rape, which shows that voyeurism is common, right? Although this is considered as, this is considered as not something very normal, right? But again, this is present in most of us, right? This is again a reality that is to be discussed and not to be overlooked, right? And another thing that I would like to say in this context is that voyeurism, in this play, it acts as a patriarchal discourse as well, right? It acts as a patriarchal discourse that not only represents woman as a sexual object, but also constructs her socio-cultural identity, right? It constructs a socio-cultural identity. And why am I saying this? Because after watching the rape, Bhaskar, uh, he remarks that the woman who is being raped, she might be a whore, right? And this introduces us to the angel and whore binary, right? Angel and whore binary, which is something very common and something very prominent in any text dealing with feminism, or in the discourse of feminism, the binary of angel and whore. So this play can be approached from feminist perspective as well, but when you approach it from feminist perspective, do refer to voyeurism as well. Okay, now let me go to the discussion of the plot in detail again. Right, I've already discussed the plot, but yeah, I was reading the introduction to the play, and then it became clear to me how Padmanabhan has developed her plot. Right, she has constructed the structure of her plot on the basis of the incident that was narrated to her by her friend, right? And over here you can see that she has also mentioned that just come to number 4, that one of the justifications raised against going to the aid of the victim was that she might be a whore. So it is something shocking for us, because we take so much pride in living in an urban modern society. But even in an urban modern society where educated people are there, right? They are educated, they belong to the upper middle class, where they have a bar in their home, right? So they are quite westernized. Even then, they nurture the stereotyped view towards women. So this is something that we should take note of when we try to read the structure of the plot, or we try to read the structure of the play. Then let us come to the major themes of this play, right? As you know that yes, it is a play based on rape, but you know, Padmanabhan herself, she says that this play, instead of being about rape, it is more about the social response to rape and violence. Because over here you will see that unlike Hindi movies, unlike Bengali movies, or unlike the commercial films that we watch in our day-to-day life, over here the rape is not being, you know, represented, right? It is represented indirectly. We come to know about the rape through the characters who are watching the incident from the safe corner of their drawing dining room, right? So it is the discussion that they make on the subject of rape that becomes primary in this play than the incident itself, right? This is again something which is very important, that makes this play a social play, and again it distinguishes it from the commercial movies which represent the rape scene very colorfully, right? Which colorfully, and remember it, when a rape scene is represented in that cinematic way, it it, instead of conveying social message, it instead of making us aware, it gives the audience some kind of pleasure, and that's what the commercial filmmakers want. And this is the difference between a social play like Lights Out and other commercial movies, right? So the social response to rape and violence, this is one important theme of this play, that how do educated modern urban people, they look at rape. As we know, what does rape mean? Rape means the the when a woman is forced to have sex, right? When violence is used on her, and she's forced to have sex, that is called rape. So there's a lot of pain and violence associated with it. Instead of understanding the pain and the violence that is there, you can see that Mohan and Bhaskar, they are concerned about discussing the character of the woman, or the context that it may be some kind of domestic fight, or it may be some kind of religious ritual that is going on. So instead of focusing on the crime, instead of focusing on the pain and violence that is associated with the forceful penetration of the vagina by the penis, right? They are discussing the other unimportant issues, right? And then the second theme that I have given on the slide, that position of women in modern urban society. This is also very important, because although Leela and Naina, right? Leela and Naina, they are educated women, right? They are quite modern, right? They even enjoy hard drinks with men at home, right? In spite of that, you can see that they lack the agency to act, right? Although they protest against what is going on outside, at least Naina does it quite religiously. And if we think of Leela seems to be quite self-centered, because at one point of the play she says that she is neither bothered about the victim or about the people. She just want them to go somewhere else and do whatever she wants. So there is some kind of difference. Okay, there is a degree of difference between Leela's character and Naina's character, but we see that both these women, although they are educated, they are modern, they lack the agency to act. They depend on their husbands to call the police, right? They request their husbands to call the police. Sometimes they request very strongly that Bhaskar should call the police and Surinder should do something. But it's not possible that they don't know how to dial the number of police station, right? They are educated after all, but they don't do that. They cannot do that because they lack the agency. And if I talk about Frida, right from the beginning you have seen that she does not speak anything. She acts as she is ordered. She restricts herself to the kitchen, right? Which shows her social position, right? Which shows not only the gender hierarchy but also her class, that she belongs to the class of the servants. This again gives us the picture of a class based society, right? This again gives us the picture of a class divided society where the poor does not have any voice in the literal sense of the term, and whenever I observe these women, these three women, Frida, Leela and Nana, and when I read this play, you know it reminds me of Spivak's essay, Can the Subaltern Speak, right? And some of my students, they asked me one day to explain in short that what is the summary of this essay. Then all of a sudden it came to my mind that this play can be used, this play can be used as a brilliant example to explain in short the essay of Spivak, because over years we come across Frida who cannot speak, right? Don't hear her speaking, right? Here we are talking about physical, the act of speaking, that means the physical act of speaking, right? In Frida's case, we don't come across the physical act of speaking. She cannot speak, she does not have the voice to speak at all because she belongs to the servants class. But if we think of Naina and Leela, they can speak. They have spoken a lot. They have many dialogues in this play. So, although they have spoken a lot, but they lack the agency. So, they don't have the power to assert what they want. Right, and this is where we come to that Spivak's essay, Can the Subaltern Speak? Because Leela and Nana, they can be considered as subaltern if we think of them in terms of gender hierarchy. And if we think of Frida, right, if we think of Frida, she, of course, she is the subaltern if we think of her not only in terms of gender hierarchy but also in terms of class hierarchy, right? And you must remember that in the play, Bhaskar and Mohan, when they were talking about the victim who is raped outside, they discuss that maybe the victim is a poor woman, right? Because her clothes are not good, they are torn, they are ragged, they are in rag, right? So this shows that maybe the woman who is raped, the women, perhaps the women who are regularly raped in that particular place, they are from poor families, right? They are from poor families. So again in this context, then we have to say that when such a crime takes place against poor women, the people belonging to the upper middle class who are well-to-do people, they are least bothered. They show indifference to protest, right? They don't protest, they show indifference, right? So these aspects again, these aspects, they somewhere they these aspects urge us, right? These aspects urge us to look at this play from the Marxist perspective as well, right? So these class divisions, this gender hierarchy that we come across, so these particular aspects, they urge us to look at this play from the Marxist perspective as well. Okay, and then we have the theme of judging women from the patriarchal
Ma'am?
perspective. Yes.
Ma'am, your screen is not visible.
How? From when is it not visible? From when is it not visible? Can you please tell me?
For quite some time now.
Oh, then you should have told me earlier, right? Because I have spoken a lot.
Actually, ma'am, I thought it was my network issue, but now I realize that, it was yours.
Okay, so is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, so I think you have missed out all these slides.
No, Shamasri, these we have not missed.
Okay, so this one, is it this one, Romita?
হ্যাঁ এটাও পেয়েছিলাম, এগুলো পেয়েছিলাম।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, তো একটু বোধহয় মাঝখানে কোনো সময় কেটে গেছিল।
হ্যাঁ না, এই সময়টা আমি আই এম নট শিওর ওয়েদার ইভেন মানে ওয়েদার দেয়ার ওয়াজ আ স্লাইড এট অল, মানে আমি সেটাও ঠিক শিওর ছিলাম না, সেই জন্য আমি কিছু বলিনি। মানে এইগুলো কিন্তু এইগুলো কিন্তু পেয়েছি আমরা। Isn't that so, students?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
এর পরে মানে আর কিছু কি ছিল, এইগুলো কিন্তু সব পেয়েছি, অ্যানালিসিস, স্ট্রাকচার এটসেট্রা, এগুলো মেজর থিমস।
Okay, I'm here. Now I'm here in this slide. Currently I'm here.
এই পর্যন্ত কিন্তু পেয়ে গেছি আমরা সব।
Okay.
Okay, then
this is the last one we saw.
Okay, so this is the last slide. I was discussing this, I was discussing the third major theme, right, that I thought to be one of the major themes. So I'm here, I'm discussing just 3 major themes. So the third one I'm discussing now, patriarchal way of judging women. Right, so all of a sudden we see that when black comedy was going on, that when Mohan was referring to exorcism and religious rites, then all of a sudden Bhaskar, he questions the character of the women who are being raped, right? And he brings in the issue of being a whore, right? And he says that after all, what does a whore have to lose? Right. So this is the patriarchal way of stereotyping women, right, of judging women. He, instead of focusing on the crime, instead of protesting against the crime, he calls the victim a whore, right? And then it is Nana who tries to counter-argue by telling him that even a whore should have the freedom to choose her client. Right, that she tries to explain to Bhaskar and Mohan that a whore may earn her living by in engaging herself in sexual activities, but that again should not be mingled up with rape, because rape is associated with violence, and even a whore or a prostitute cannot be raped, right? It's a crime, it's against the law of the land. But as I feel, the word whore, it has got some kind of cultural connection. Whereas if we use the word prostitute, it is related more to the profession, right? It has the professional aspect more to it, right? But when we use the word whore, it's more of a socio-cultural term, right? It's more of a socio-cultural term, which often the patriarchal gaze, which often the patriarchal gaze directs to any woman who may be a prostitute or who may not be a prostitute by profession, to any woman who transgresses the norms of femininity, right? So whore is a socio-cultural context and a very patriarchal way. It is, whore is a very patriarchal way of judging women. So Bhaskar does that, and it again shows their perverted, when Mohan supports him, it shows their perverted mind, right? It shows the perversion, which again should be associated with voyeurism as well, right? A step that is more degrading, a step that is more degrading. Perversion, as you know, it's a very negative word, right? So these were the major themes that we were talking about. And then I thought of discussing the significance of the title, because many students, while I was teaching it to my students, many students, they asked me the significance of the title, that why the play has been named as Lights Out. So over here you can see that I have tried to make something in this slide. I tried to draw something. It did not go well, but again, lights out, right? Lights out. The phrase "lights out." Uh, it refers to darkness, right? When there is power cut. When there is power cut, we know there is darkness. So lights out refers to darkness. But this darkness is not only physical darkness, right? This darkness is not only physical darkness. At least in the context of the play, we have seen that there is darkness within as well as outside. There is darkness within and there is darkness outside. If we consider Lights Out, the play by Manjula Padmanabhan, as a social play, then we have to say that the darkness is both a physical darkness that she deals with, because the people, they have to switch off their lights when this act of rape is going outside, right? And it also points out to the darkness, to the darkness in the characters, in the characters of the people, right? Darkness that shows us their lack of civic responsibility, darkness that points out their perversion, their selfishness, their self-centeredness, their indifference towards the sufferings of women as well as towards the sufferings of poor women. So darkness is over here not only physical darkness, but also the metaphorical darkness which is multi-layered in this play. It refers to the darkness within us, within the society, as well as the darkness that darkness that happens with the switching off of the lights. But again, they are compelled to switch off the lights out of some kind of terror that the rapists may attack them, or they may smash the glass panes of their windows. Out of that fear, they switch off their lights. But again, there is a matter of choice. They are choosing to do so. They're accepting that. Right, they are accepting to behave in the stereotyped way instead of protesting, instead of doing their civic responsibility. They are choosing to remain in darkness. So this is where the significance of the title lies. So this is what I had to say about this play. This was my close reading of the play, and thank you for listening patiently to what I said. Okay, so this is where I would like to end my lecture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was a greatly insightful talk. Now the house is open for an interactive session.
Shyamasri, can I just share something? It was an excellent talk, and it was indeed a close reading. It stayed a close reading. So thank you very much. I am sure our students, you not only gave a close reading, you touched upon also many of the critical issues, the theories, etc. For example, Marxism, feminism, and also you didn't make it too much arcane or esoteric, so that it was very easy for our students to follow, I would guess. And it would also leave some sort of churning for them. They would also be following it up with their own thoughts, etc. Just reminded of one thing. Remember, I was I teach my students all of us teach the paper Women's Writing. Remember, so there we have this concept of when Showalter talks about woman as sign, etc. And Laura Mulvey's the male gaze. This is a perfect example, isn't it, of the male gaze? Absolutely the characters taking pleasure in identifying the woman as the other, and in her sort of being raped as a sort of, as you said, voyeurism or exhibitionism. So that was one of the facts that I was instantly reminded. And I remember, when you were talking about the title, it was a brilliant evocation of the title. I think we had this other drama, you remember when we were under the Burdwan University, Vijay Tendulkar's Silence, the Court is in Session. There also this concept of silence, just as there is lights out, means not only the characters are keeping the lights out, they themselves are immersed in benightedness. There was this judge telling that the silence, the court is in session, and also a sort of patriarchal sort of repression, silencing of the woman's voice, that you keep silent, you do not articulate. So I find, isn't there a sort of parallel between these two titles, which I find very interesting, actually. And I also was reminded of another of the film. You remember I was talking about it with my students. The person who made Masan, Neeraj Khaiya, he has a very short film called Juice, which I was talking with my students. There it is shown that it is a sort of feminist film. He wouldn't like to dub it as a feminist film, of course, which shows that the women, that guests come and the guests talk about a lot of things, but the women always, they are engaged in their household chores. And finally, when one of the women, the lady of the house, she's completely aghast that something is not, there is not even a cooler, not even a fan in the dining room, and all the women are kept huddled there together, even a person who is pregnant. And this person comes and says that bhabhi unko काम पे लगा दो, कुछ तो नहीं करता है दिन भर. So she just silently sort of finishes all her cooking, doesn't do all her cooking, she doesn't tell anything, but she comes face to face with the men of the house, sits before the cooler and takes a bottle of juice and starts drinking from it. That is the protest. You were talking about the class-based, etc. Remember, the one woman is shunted to the sort of kitchen. There also we find that the maid servant, she is given some tea, and she is said that you drink tea from a certain sort of inferior glass or vessel. So this concept of intersectionality, that is, women also having this sort of, which the third wave of feminism talks about, this also I found very interesting. These were the few observations. Thank you again for the brilliant talk.
Yes, your observation was also very brilliant, Romida, and I was looking forward to these kinds of erudite observations, and I always look up to you all as my senior colleagues from whom I can learn so much. Of course, I have noted these down, and I am going to use this next year when I will teach again lights out in my college. So thank you for this wonderful observation. I could learn so much from your observation.
Yeah, it is interaction which is the core of all these talks. So thank you very much again.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, the students, do you have anything?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, this is Rosalie from SEM 6. Ma'am, I want to ask about Leela. Like, Leela, she urges Bhaskar to call the police, but in the drama, she does not take a step to call the police by herself. Yes, I of course admit that women have been placed in the subjugated position. Like, they will not do something from their own, but at least if Leela was traumatized in that manner, she could have called the police by herself once. And my second question is related to Mohan. I don't know, but I feel very angry. I felt very angry when I was reading the sections that were belong to Mohan. Like, he is enjoying that rape scene. I felt like that, ma'am. So, ma'am, what would you like to say?
Your observation is also, quite analytical, right? You have made an analytical observation, and thank you for such detailed observation. Mohan, Padmanabhan describes Mohan as an immoral character, right? He is the perfect voyeurist. That's why he is a true friend of Bhaskar, right? In him, we can see the perfect voyeur. and he tries to cover up the crime. It is he who first takes the initiative to cover up the crime by bringing in references of religion and sacred rites and all those things. And as far as Leela is concerned, that's what I was telling you, that she lacks the agency. Right, she lacks the agency to act. That is where the question of speaking and subaltern comes, that I was telling you with reference to Spivak's essay, that speaking does not refer to the physical act of speaking. Speaking means asserting yourself. Refers to articulate yourself, as well as to convince others what you are saying is right. So Leela lacks that agency, and not only Leela lacks that agency, Leela, maybe she has got some psychological problem, maybe she suffers from some kind of phobia, but Naina, her friend, who does not suffer from those kinds of psychological problems, even she lacks the agency. That is what is remarkable, or that is what we should observe in this play. And that is why I said that the women, the modern urban women, although they are educated, they are quite westernized, but when it comes to taking decisions, they are still dependent on the men folk. They are still dependent on what the men will do. They are dependent on the actions of the men. This is where we need to question the agency of the women and the position of the women in society. Okay, Uruz? Am I able to answer your query?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thanks. Anybody else? Thank you, Ramita, for this wonderful comment. It means a lot to me. I always look up to you all. You all are my senior colleagues. Anindita Di, Nilanjana Di, Ramita, Manjula Di is like my teacher. Devika Bose ma'am is my teacher. She was my teacher, and once a teacher is always a teacher, so I will say she is my teacher. Right, so it has been great to be here today. I'm really glad to meet you all on this virtual platform. I would also thank Nilanjana Di specially for for telling me to present this lecture. I was quite nervous, and thank you, Nilanjana Di, because it was really a nice experience to meet you all, especially the students here on this virtual platform. I think there are no questions. So, yeah.
Do we have another question?
Okay.
Do we? I guess not. So, I would now request our senior Apurva Da to please propose the vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
A very good evening to all. It's my honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks for this event to all the dignitaries assembled here. Although many of the dignitaries can't able to join today because of network issues or other reason, I'd like to thank our respected principal, sir, Dr. Debnath Palit, our QSC coordinator, Dr. Obhijit Mondol, Secretary Teachers Council, Dr. Shapon Kumar Ghosh, and Mr. Partho Gangobadhyay, Joint TPI Bikash Bhavan, Kolkata, for their best wishes. I express my deepest gratitude to our honorable speaker for the day, Dr. SHYAMASRI MAJI, Assistant Professor of English, Durgapur Women's College, for accepting our invitation and for being here. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your informative and useful speech. I extend my gratitude to all the respected and beloved professors of our English department, Durgapur Government College, for organizing such an informative webinar. I would like to thank both Suparna Gorai and Sneha Shikdar, 4th semester English honors students, for presenting the PowerPoint presentation. I'd also like to thank Orijit Mondol, 4th semester English honors student, for technical support, and Riya Ghosh, 4th semester English honors student, for hosting the event. Finally, I'd like to thank all of you present here for being with us and helping us to make this webinar successful. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Shamasri, and we look forward
Okay.
to many more such interactions.
Sure. Thank you. So now I think we may leave.
Nilanjana,
Acha.
we might end this now.
Thanks. So, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Then I'm leaving. Huh? Bye. Good night.
Good night.